Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I am your handsome host. I'm back from Mexico. The NFL genius, Gene Walzak. And in the upper left corner, we have Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cuttrell.
Gentlemen, it is nice to be back full again. Gene, glad you're back, and we kept you away from any kidnappers over there in Mexico.
I'll put it to you this way, right? I was shocked that you guys got through the episode without me. Like, I think in my head, like, these guys, can they tie their shoes without Gene Walzak? I'm kidding, obviously. Great show last week. In the upper right corner, we got Scholastic Shally, William Shallcross, Uncle Shally, Government Shally. What's up, Bill?
Government Shally? What the hell does that mean?
William Shallcross, Government Shally.
Government name.
Government name. See, listen, I'm fired up. I'm EA Sports. I'm in a game.
I'm good. I'm glad you're back, yelling, singing, talking about yourself, all the good things that make this podcast go around.
Talking about myself. Jeez. Listen, I don't know if you guys notice. Little Mud Dogs jersey. Bobby Boucher. The Mud Dogs going to win the Bourbon Bowl. That's all I'm saying. The Mud Dogs going to win the Bourbon Bowl. We got a huge show tonight. Big show. NBA playing games. NBA playoffs. We got to predict the playoff series. We're going to get our sports characters bracket. Is it the Elite Eight? Is that where we're at? The Elite Eight? We're going to the Final Four. We have a UFC 300 recap, our quarterbacks list. And then, as always, you got to be kidding me. I'm fired up. I'm ready to rock and roll. How do y'all feel?
I'm ready to get right to it.
Ready to go. Let's go.
Well, I mean, the play-in game that starts tonight, we got to talk about. We got to get into that first. The Philadelphia 76ers will host the Miami Heat of Miami. Miami Heat of Miami. I'm kidding, obviously. No Terry Rozier, no DeAnthony Melton. Both guys will be sitting out tonight's game due to injury. I think that affects the Miami Heat way more than it affects the Philadelphia 76ers. DeAnthony Melton's been out for a good portion of the season. And I will say this, Scary Terry, say a million things about Terry Rozier, but he's a decent defender versus Tyrese Maxey. His career statistics versus Tyrese Maxey, he's a tough defender for Maxey. I think Maxey has a big night tonight. I think the 76ers get the win at home. And the difference is Nicholas Nurse. I'm starting there.
I thought you were about to say Batum.
No, Nicholas Nurse, Mr. Nick Nurse.
In a weird way, I was hoping he was going to say Batum because I was ready to listen to the deep reasoning as to why.
Oh no, just no deep reasoning. I think Maxey and Embiid have big games tonight. I think Butler has a good game as usual. I think it'll be a good basketball game. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves, the better basketball team should win tonight, and that is the 76ers.
I mean, as a basketball fan, I am 120,000% rooting for the Sixers tonight. I want to see the Sixers get the 7th seed, and I want to see Miami face Boston. Now, of course, that's a lot of that is going to be contingent on, if Terry's going to be able to play in the next game and all this. But I want to see Miami versus Boston round 1. So I'm praying the Sixers take care of business. I think they will. There's nothing that's in their way of stopping them. Miami really shouldn't be able to score consistently tonight. So I'm picking the Sixers to win, but I think a Sixers win is just all around better for basketball fans.
Well, and we hope the referees agree with you. Like, call the ticky-tack fouls. Get Embiid to the line 35 times tonight. I'm with that. I don't care if the game's ugly to watch. I want to win. And I want to play the New York Knickerbockers in the first round and not our goddamn kryptonite in Boston. And by the way, don't listen. Let's say something right now. I hate being this person. I'm going to be this person. It doesn't matter who wins the other game, the 9-10 game, because they're going to lose. There's two teams stink. Atlanta and Chicago are awful. They're not winning a playoff game. So I'll put that on record now. They're losing. So whoever wins that game It's just to play an extra game. They're going to travel and get their ass kicked on the road. They have no shot. Zero shot. Period. Miami beats them. Philadelphia beats them. Doesn't matter. Shai, what are your thoughts on the game tonight?
No, I agree. I mean, I think JoJo's got to have a big game, and I think as long as he does, and I think as long as Maxey shows up, and I think if they just play a good solid game, I think they win. I agree with you. I think the Terry Rozier absence is going to be an issue. It's going to factor into the game. And Jimmy Butler's not 100%. He really hasn't been all year. I know we'll get playoff Jimmy. I'm sure he'll ball out, but not being 100%, I think hurts them coming into Philly tonight to play. I really do. I also think this game, game gets out of hand. Maybe you even see them pull everybody and rest for. I think they'll come back and play Friday, I think, or Saturday maybe. I'm not sure. But I agree with you. I said this when it looked like we were going to be in the play-in. I thought this setup. If you're a Sixers fan, I don't know if you could ask for a much better draw. You're going to get Knickerbockers in 2. I just think we're the better team, especially with JoJo playing. We've seen in the past Milwaukee is not a good matchup, and I think they absolutely want to stick it to Doc Rivers. And that would get us to the Eastern Conference Finals with the Boston Celtics, which is unfortunately just a different conversation. They're just a better team. But I think the Sixers show up tonight. I think they play well at home, and I think they win. And then, they wait till Saturday or Sunday when they play first, and, we'll go from there. But I like the Sixers very very confidently tonight.
So I think I think it's a pipe dream to think that the 76ers are going to blow them out. That'd be great. I would love to be able to rest people in the fourth quarter. I don't think that's happening. I think with playoff Jimmy, I don't even think you should. If you're up 16, 17 points, the Miami Heat have shown you they can go on runs in the fourth quarter. You got to secure the win and not allow them any momentum to get that. That game's within 5 with a minute left. The Sixers are in trouble.
I was saying it more towards if Miami is down big, they might take people out and decide to rest them for the next game. I was almost talking about the Sixers, but either way, it's a valid point either way.
So let's talk about last night's games. Is this an end of an era? There was a situation that happened on the court last night. Klay Thompson was terrible. I mean, he's 0 for 10 from the field. He was absolutely atrocious. And not only was he that, kind of stiffed Steph Curry over on a handshake, just walked by him, blew him away. I get it. They're friends for years. But it felt like the end. Klay Thompson stayed on the court a little bit longer. It felt like a goodbye. And I feel like the Golden State Warriors have to blow it up. I feel like that this is the end, right? You didn't even need to make the playoffs. You lost in the first play-in game. You're done. Golden State has to blow it up. Rebuild, restart. You got yourselves a bunch of championships out of that core. It's time for a new. Your thoughts on Golden State, Sacramento? Sacramento took it to them. That game was not close. There was never a time where I felt like that game was in doubt.
I think.
I mean, I wouldn't. Okay.
I was going to say, for me, I would say that my piece about at least this Warriors team moving forward. Do I think they should blow it up? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, Klay Thompson's going to be a free agent this upcoming offseason. If Klay is willing to take a discount, I mean, you keep him on the roster. I think he's a pivotal piece for their just culture in general. And I know he hasn't been the Klay of old, but you saw when he was coming off of the bench, he had actually been showing some production. He seemed to have strived in that role of coming off the bench. And I personally, while I understand, he's helped Golden State win 4 championships, I don't understand why Steve Kerr decided last night was going to be the night where you start him. I think that could have played in a part. And then granted, Klay's played in a ton of big games. I'm not giving him any outs, but I've seen his production this second half of the year when he got moved to the bench, and he had been playing well. So I don't like that Steve made that adjustment in the playoffs. And I was even on record earlier in the year about moving Klay Thompson at the deadline. I thought they should have done that. But my sentiment now is that if Klay's willing to take less money, you keep him around. If not, hey, we loved having you for the 4 championships. We got to find a way to make this roster better. And I'll share those same sentiments with Chris Paul as well. I think if you can find a way to keep him on a discounted deal, it makes sense for that team to have a backup point guard that has that experience to be in that role. But if he wants more money, if he wants to be a starter, you ultimately say, hey, it was cool having you here for the year that you were here, but we got to find a way to make this roster better.
I disagree. I completely disagree. I think you have to basically force him into retirement. You can't bring him back because it doesn't allow growth at your two guard position at all. And no matter who your starting two guard is next year, they bring somebody in or whatever, they're always going to be looking over their shoulder at Klay Thompson's on the bench. I don't think a guy that was a pivotal player on championship runs can just sit down and be a bench player on that team. I think the shadow of Klay Thompson will be overwhelming to any young player. And if you bring a veteran in, I don't know how that works. I don't know what two guard you bring in to be a veteran starter that Klay Thompson is going to take a back seat to.
So I'm not saying this is the exact name you bring in, but a guy that comes to mind for me is a guy that's right there in Philadelphia, and a guy like Buddy Hield. If you bring a guy like Buddy Hield to run alongside Steph, that can be your consistent starter there and is a good enough piece to score and just take some of that pressure off of Steph, I think that makes a ton of sense. And he's also, at this point, I would think that he's confident enough in himself, even with Klay on the bench. Buddy's a professional. He knows how this business goes. If Klay's hot a week and they ultimately decide to start him, I think Buddy he'd at least understand that. He was over in Indiana where they had 17 guards that all played the same position. And I know that's ultimately why he left town there, but he understands how this game goes. And I'm not saying Buddy specifically. I'm just saying a player like that has some years under their belt at this point, but at the same time understands how the game goes and, understands that, hey, at the end of the day, we're trying to win a championship, and you do that by having as much talent as possible. I think the only way you can do that, though, is if that number is right for Klay. You can't overpay. You can't even pay market value for him. It has to be under that. It has to be a hometown discount. That's the only way I keep Klay on the roster, though.
Shally, tell him why he's wrong.
I'm going to agree with Gene on this one. This isn't a normal, average kind of like, Hassan Haslam type guy that's been around forever. This is an all-time franchise guy that has helped been there for almost a decade now and has helped put those three banners in the rafters. This isn't a guy that, is just kind of like the feel-good story. This is a guy who has set NBA records. You don't want a younger kid coming in and having that shadow behind you. It's tough. I don't think Klay is going to take a super duper kind of, discount to stay there either, because I think somebody's going to pay him. That being said, I don't want to say Klay's done. I think the Klay of old that we knew before all the injuries. And listen, I feel bad for him. I do, because in his prime, the dude was incredible to watch. He was just as fun to watch as Steph sometimes.
Yeah, he's Danny Green though. That's what he is right now. He's Danny Green.
He's not quite there yet, but yeah, I understand. He's at the beginning of that road though, and he's not 10 miles down that road like Danny Green was, but that's about the avenue that we're about to get into for him. The legs and just the athleticism. I mean, if you just watch him, that first step is just not there anymore. He used to, for a bigger guy too. He used to be quick. It's not there anymore. He doesn't have that burst. You go through two, almost three devastating leg injuries like that. It's just not going to be there. It's just the body just does certain things. And again, I feel bad for him because it was nothing he did to himself. It was just bad luck.
I don't feel bad for him. I've got 4 championships and millions of dollars.
I don't feel bad for him at all.
I don't feel bad for him as in like I feel pity for him, but when you are a guy and you're in your prime and you are that good, to kind of let your body just be the reason that lets you down, and you have freak injuries like that kind of robs you of prolonging your career at that type of an elite high level, that sucks. Again, I'm not going to bed crying for him. Like you say, he's got 4 rings and a gazillion dollars in the bank. It is what it is. But, you never want to see, greatness be taken away from something like that for something they can't control, other than like just getting older. And that's not where we're really at with him. But I agree with Gene. I don't know if I bring Klay back, because if I can go get another 2 like a Buddy Hield type guy, I want that guy just to step in and get used to playing with Steph and know that's his spot, and not have 3 bad games in a row and be like, oh, Steve Kerr's going to pull the trigger for his boy at any given second. It's just a hard spot to play. The Chris Paul thing, I feel indifferent towards it.
Whoa. Why are we talking about Chris Paul?
He brought up Chris Paul. I was just going on his point. I'm not bashing him. I was going to give my opinion on bringing him back. He talked about it. What the hell's the problem?
I don't want to talk about Chris Paul. No Chris Paul slander. Chris Paul slander is not allowed on this show right now.
I wasn't going to slander him.
About to be 39 in 2 weeks. Give him his happy birthday. Let him sail off in the sunset. The guy needs to retire. Let's call it what it is.
I was just going to talk about bringing him back or not. That's all. I wasn't slandering.
We don't want to bring him back.
We?
Yeah, we. Me and Chris Paul's agency. We don't want to bring him back. We want Chris Paul and Cliff to go do some State Farm commercials and sail out in the sunset, bro. It's over, dude. You're not winning a chip. You're still a great point guard. Let's just call it what it is. The career's done. You're not where you need to be at. You can't. The only thing you can go be a coach. Go be a coach somewhere. Stop. There's no more Chris Paul.
Kyle Lowry role?
No. Kyle Lowry's better than Chris Paul is right now.
Yikes.
He is. That's the truth. And I don't think Kyle Lowry is anything special, but what he's brought to the 76ers is leadership and toughness, and I'll take that. I don't know what Chris Paul's going to bring to a team. I don't.
I mean, leadership for sure. But it's the same situation with Chris as it always is. Can he stay healthy? For 55 games to make it to the playoffs? I just don't think he's going to bow out like this. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying he goes back to Golden State, but I think he's on a roster playing in the NBA next year.
He's in a lose-lose scenario, though. Like, where does he go? Let's just say, I'm going to go be a backup point guard and ring chase for Boston or Denver. Then he gets a ring and everyone destroys the ring. She didn't deserve it. Or he goes and plays for another moderate team and doesn't contribute. He's got to retire, bro. It's over. It's done.
I would disagree with you on the ring thing. I think being
100%
at this point next year, he'd be 40. I think for a guy, I know. Listen, I know we argue about him a lot, and I know some of it's serious and some of it's all good fun. But I don't think anybody would be upset with Chris Paul being a guy that goes and gets a ring as a backup point guard and rides off in the sunset with the career that he's had. I don't think he's going to.
So by that logic, Gary Payton's more of a winner than Chris Paul, right?
Gary Payton was a starting point guard on a championship winning team.
He was on the Miami Heat. That he basically was a non-factor. Mario Chalmers.
If Chris Paul goes to Boston and he's their starting point guard, I don't care how much talent they have, it still means something.
I don't think it means anything.
Well, if he's the starting point guard, it's a different thing if he's going there and he's just riding like T-Mac in San Antonio. That's a completely different scenario. If you're a starting point guard or you're the sixth man or you're getting just significant minutes. Like if Chris Paul decides, I want to make sure I get a ring, I want to go to Boston, and he's playing 18, 20 minutes a game.
Yeah.
That's a key contributor on a championship winning team. I'm not discrediting that personally.
Let's talk about the Lakers Nuggets.
I don't think anybody else would either.
Let's talk about the Lakers Pelicans. The Lakers are going to end up playing the Nuggets. Darvin Ham had a lot to say about the people saying that they should have lost on purpose to avoid Denver. He was very mouthy about it. They went into New Orleans. Zion was having a very good game, left injured. Their season's basically over because he had 40 points last night, and now he's not going to be able to play. He's done for the year. Your thoughts on the Lakers beating the Pelicans? LeBron James had a very good night, very efficient night outside of shooting. So I get it, but he was a plus 11, played good defense. He rebounded the ball. He passed the ball. He blocked shots. He stole the ball. He looked like LeBron James. He looked really good. Overall, D'Angelo Russell stepped up in the game, looked pretty good. Austin Reeves, couple clutch shots to basically put it away. Your thoughts on the Lakers and them taking Denver past 5 games?
I will go with, I think the Lakers played a very complete game last night. Like you said, I don't think they relied on LeBron too much to score. But they had other people step up at the right time. And LeBron still did his, rebounding, passing, and everything else thing that he brings to the team. I thought Anthony Davis played pretty good. I think, if Zion doesn't get hurt, who knows how the game ends. But that being said, I think it's a quality win to go in there and beat that team. New Orleans is was one of the hotter teams in the middle of the season and kind of battled injuries down the stretch. And, like you said, now they're going to go play without Zion against Sacramento, and I don't think that's going to go well. But that being said, you got to tip your hats to the Lakers again. It's playoff time, and LeBron does what he needs to do to advance, and they'll go play Denver. And I don't think they go past 5 games.
Okay. So I think that the Lakers actually make it a series versus Denver, and we'll start talking about the series and the NBA playoff preview. I think it's a 6-game series, and I think it's a highly competitive series. Look, I'll make something very clear. What's the not Nick? Who's the guy? Patrick Mahomes lover, LeBron lover. What's the guy's name?
Nick Wright.
Nick Wright. Nick Wright's wrong a lot, but I think he's absolutely right about what he said about this series. If you want to play the Denver Nuggets, and you got to play them to get to the finals, you'd rather play them in round 1 than play them in round 3. Especially if you're the Lakers. You get the extended days off. There's two days in between games. It gives you time to rest. The playoff grind is not there. Whereas a young, more athletic team like Denver might not need those extra days off. I think the Lakers give Denver all they want in round 1. I think there's times in that series where you're like, wow, the Lakers could win this series. Ultimately, I think they lose the series. I think it's a 6-game series. I think Denver splits in Denver, and people are like, whoa, what's going on here? They split in LA, and then Denver wins game 5 and 6. I think it'll be a very, very good series, but I got the Denver Nuggets ultimately winning the series. Your thoughts?
So for me, I'm rolling with Denver as well. I got Denver in 5, though. Look, at the end of the day, you could talk about the Lakers playing a complete game last night, and they've been playing better basketball since they've made the change and put Rui in the starting lineup instead of Taurean Prince. But I look at that Lakers team, and especially down the stretch, their only offense is pick and roll and or just screen to get the matchup they like. And that just doesn't work in the playoffs. Like, yes, you'll get it on occasion where you get Anthony Davis on a smaller guy or you get LeBron on a smaller guy, but ISO ball doesn't win in the playoffs, and we've seen that year in and year out, and that's just what the Lakers offense is. And I think going up against that Nuggets team, you can't have spells where you struggle to score the ball because you're playing ISO. And so I think with that Nuggets team, if they go on a 10-0 run or a 12-0 run and it's the third quarter and they're up, 12-14, Lakers aren't coming back from that. Like, they have the talent to, but like, that's just not what they're built to do. So I like the Nuggets to win in 5. I think every game will be competitive. I just don't think the Lakers have enough consistent offense to keep up with what the Nuggets are going to be able to do.
And the Lakers can't play big versus Denver, which they can do versus a lot of teams, because it actually helps them to play small versus Denver. Where you have Anthony Davis at the center position as opposed to the 4, because Aaron Gordon is a great matchup for Anthony Davis for what Anthony wants to do. But if you play small and you have to use Nikola Jokic to defend him, Anthony Davis should be able to hit his mid-range shots. They need to play small in that series, and I think they will. I think that's what they'll end up doing. I think you'll see a lot of Rui Hachimura at the 4 and or LeBron at the 4, Rui at the 3. But I think you're going to see a lot of small ball from the Lakers in the series.
It'll be really interesting to see how this series matches up compared to last year, because Bruce Brown was such a big factor in that series. And now that the Nuggets don't have him, obviously they've made it work with, the bench pieces that they've had, but it'll be curious to see who is that guy that really steps into that role in the playoffs.
Completely agree with you. Let's talk about some series. Let's talk about some things that are going to happen. Now, we all agree that, so if we're all picking the 76ers over the Heat tonight, we agree that Miami will beat Chicago or Atlanta.
Yes.
We're good there.
Yes.
Right? So we have our playoff mat, and we agree that Sacramento, everybody's in agreement.
With
Sacramento beats
Zion.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making
Zion. Is Zion definitely ruled out?
Oh,
He's
yeah.
out.
He's out.
He'll be reevaluated in a couple of weeks, is what they said. Hamstring injury.
Before we get into the other injuries, Does anyone have a full update on Kawhi Leonard? Is he playing?
Yes, he's playing.
Okay. He had knee swelling.
They're concerned about it, but he's playing.
Okay. So they're preparing as if he would play. That's what it says. But let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about the series. We'll go from 8-1 in each conference. We'll start in the West. Let's start with the Sacramento Kings versus the Oklahoma City Thunder in a series, in my opinion, that has all the fireworks in it. I think this will be a great series. This has to be one of the lowest hanging fruits in the 1 seed we've seen since Philadelphia. But I think that Oklahoma City is low hanging fruit. And I give Sacramento all the chances in the world to upset Oklahoma City in that series. I actually like Sacramento to pull the upset in that series. I'm taking the Kings in 7. I think the leadership of De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, I love that team as a whole. I think they like the beam. I got the Sacramento Kings beating the Oklahoma City Thunder in an 8-1 upset.
I would say if Sacramento was completely healthy, I would like their chances a lot more than I already do. I do agree with you. I think it's a great series. I don't think Oklahoma is an overwhelming one at all. I 100% agree with you there. I think Oklahoma City gets it done, though. They won a lot of big games down the stretch. I think, the atmosphere they have there in Oklahoma City is going to be very, it's going to sway in their favor. Sacramento is a very tough place to go play. But ultimately, I think, you get home court advantage for a reason. I think they win Game 7 at home. But I do agree with you. I think it's a great series. I think you have a lot of potential for a lot of players that are in that series to kind of show out and put up huge games. Have it be Fox. I would be shy. There's star power in that series.
Yeah, my biggest concern for Sacramento is De'Aaron Fox, and I'll tell you what. The one thing that really concerns me about him, he added the 3-point element to his game this year, and I'm going to compare this to a baseball player that adds the long ball. That's not really used to adding the long ball. What do they do, Shally? They keep trying to hit the damn long ball.
Yep.
And De'Aaron Fox, as long as he doesn't get 3-point happy like he did last night, it was 2 for 8. I think the Sacramento Kings win the series. Now, where I think they can get really in trouble is if De'Aaron Fox doesn't attack. You have to make SGA work on both sides of the court. And to really slow down his offense, you're going to need to attack the rim. And I think that that's the difference in the series. I think Sabonis is a perfect matchup for the middle. I think he'll do a great job in distributing the basketball. And if Keegan Murray plays any bit like he played last night, I think Sacramento wins the series.
Agreed. And I'm actually picking Sacramento as well. I was going to roll with the Pelicans to beat Sacramento before the Zion injury, and I was going to pick the Pelicans over the Thunder as well. But I just think that right now with the Thunder, the lack of experience is going to play a big part in this series. I really think that you have this Kings team who last year they won 7 games with the Warriors. They have that experience now under their belt, and I just think they match up well too. So you got Sabonis that's probably going to be on Chet. You got Keegan Murray, who's going to, most likely be on one of Jalen Williams. And then De'Aaron and Shea are going to be able to go back and forth. I think with that Thunder team as well, you got some injuries. I know Jalen and Shea have been playing, but they've been out this past like 2.5 weeks in and out the lineup with their nagging injuries and things like that as well. I think this is going to be a fast-paced series. These teams are going to fly up and down the court. So I think that's something to look out for too. I like the Kings in 7 as well, though.
All right, well, let's talk about the 3-6. Let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Phoenix Suns. I think this is another series that I feel like that if you look at these teams on paper, it looks like Minnesota could be ripe for an upset. I don't think it happens. I think that the Suns truly lack point guard, and I think that they've lacked a point guard all season. Devin Booker is not a makeshift point guard. He is a shooting guard. That's what he is. I think Kevin Durant, Devin Booker have very good series, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. A little Lincoln Park reference. I got the Minnesota Timberwolves with Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, advancing and knocking out the Phoenix Suns in the first round?
I'm actually going to go the other way on this. I think they find a way to get it done through Minnesota. I don't disagree with the point guard thing. I think it's been an issue all year, and I think they've kind of found workarounds, with certain games to get enough wins, get in the playoffs. And at the end of the day, when you get into the playoffs, I mean, other than Anthony Edwards, I think all the next. Definitely, I mean, the two best players for sure on the court are going to be on the Suns sideline. But I think Phoenix just finds a way to get it done. I think it's a long series. I think it goes 6 or 7 games as well. I'll just take their experience and just the fact that they're going to have the two best players in the series on their team. I think they find a way to win.
Okay, so I'll go bold real quick. I don't think they have the two best series players in the series.
I agree with you. I think they have the best player in the series. The second best player in the series resides in Minnesota.
I agree.
But with that said, I'm also going to roll with Phoenix as well. I just think now, especially that it's playoff time, you shorten that rotation. At the end of the day, you throw out there Durant, Nurkic, Beal, Grayson Allen, and Devin Booker, and you get a couple guys off the bench. Royce O'Neal, I'm sure, is going to get some minutes. Okogie's going to play a little bit. 7-8 man rotation. I like that more than I like Minnesota running the two big lineup. You have to have either Rudy or Carl on the court against that Suns team. You're not going to be able to throw those guys out there together in crunch time. I know they probably will, but it's just not going to work in their favor. And I hate picking against Ant because I really think Ant is the guy to just overcome everything and just win some series that he's not supposed to. And I'm not even saying that's that because they're the higher seed in this one. But I like the Suns. I just think they have too much talent, and it's a bad matchup for that Timberwolves team. I'll go Suns in 6.
I'm going Timberwolves in 7. Let's talk about another really upset-heavy matchup. All the money, all the actions coming in on Dallas. Dallas is the trendy pick to upset the Clippers. Kawhi's got knee swelling. I'm not as bought in on Dallas as the rest of the general media is. I think that Dallas will get out coached in this series. And I think if Kawhi Leonard plays this series, if he plays the entire series, I think the Clippers win the series. And I think that as a whole, they can do a lot of things to slow down Luka Doncic. And I think the perfect two guys to kind of slow him down a little bit are Kawhi and Paul George. They have the length, they have the strength, and they have the athleticism to keep up with him. I think with that team, I think you could look at this as a team that could switch and give Luka fits. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, they have a lot of you have athleticism at the point guard position. I think that the Clippers win the series if Kawhi plays the entire series. With that being said, I got to give Kyrie Irving his roses. We've talked about a lot this year. We talked about the Suns struggles, the Lakers. We talked about Anthony Edwards emerging. We talked about Ja Morant's coming back from a suspension and injury. We didn't talk about all year? Kyrie Irving kept his name out of it, learned how to play that number 2 role pretty well. I got to give him credit. Got to give credit where credit's due. Kyrie's went to Dallas, kept his nose clean, and that Dallas team is prime for an upset, although I am picking the Clippers. I think they have the better coach. I think they have the better lineup, and I'm going to go with the better players.
Again, I'm rolling with the upsets. I like the Mavericks to win this series. I don't think Kawhi Leonard is fully healthy. I don't think he's going to play this entire series. And this is like the same old story with this Clippers team. It feels like it happens every single year. Kawhi is going to probably look great game 1, maybe look great game 2. And then we're going to see something happen. He's going to be out of the lineup, and every single game it's going to be like, he's questionable. Is he playing tonight? He's questionable. Is he playing tonight? We know the other superstar in LA doesn't like the bright lights of the playoffs either, and Paul George. Like, I think he's going to be due for just a couple stinkers. And while I do think Ty Lue is a great coach, and he will outcoach Dallas for sure, like no doubt about it. I just think what Luka and what Kyrie have, Luka, he wins. He wins these big games, and if they're close and no Kawhi Leonard's playing, I think the Mavericks are going to have more than enough to get it done. I like the Mavericks in 6.
But you say that with the sense that Kawhi's not going to play. Kawhi doesn't play. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and it's just projecting.
This is simple for me. If he plays, I think the Clippers win. And if he doesn't, then I think Dallas has enough to get by. Because obviously, to Cottrell's point, Luka is going to outplay Paul George by a wide margin. So, but all indications are that Kawhi is going to be a go. And if that's the case, I think defensively they're too much. Seeing Dallas in a weird way play a lot of games this year for random reasons. Defensively, they're not great. Luka and to Gene's point, Kyrie has been great this year. Sometimes, even being better than Luka. I just think it's them and still a whole bunch of role players. I like LA, longer series. Obviously it couldn't completely, resting on if Kawhi plays or not.
I'm pushing back on that one, Bill. Dallas has actually played solid defense this year, especially after trading for PJ Washington. Derrick Jones Jr. has been playing good defense. Their rookie Gafford's been not rookie. What's the rookie? Gafford's been playing good defense too, but Derek Lively have been playing good defense as well. I think Dallas is low key an underrated defensive team. I think they play defense over there outside of their two best players, but even then, I think they've been buying in a little bit more.
Yeah, but you say that, but you do realize, just like you said earlier, Cottrell, the benches get a lot shorter, and when 2/5 of your starting lineup are absolute liabilities defensively, I don't agree or disagree. I'm kind of on the fence on both. And if you're going to have Kyrie and Luka playing 35 plus minutes per night, 2/5 of your team for 35 minutes per night is going to be a defensive liability.
Well, the nice thing though is that you can hide one of them on Russell Westbrook when it gets late.
That's fair.
So, I mean, I think you're okay there. And the other thing too is that the guys on their bench that are going to be a part of that rotation can play defense. Dante Exum's a good defender. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a good defender as well. So I think they're fine defensively, and they've shown that since the trade deadline. PJ Washington has been a huge get for them, and just their ability to switch things and protect the rim.
All righty, let's move on to the Eastern Conference. We'll start in the 1-8. Boston versus Miami is what we're expecting. It's what we predicted. I like Boston in this series. I think they're too much. I think they're too good. I have Boston ultimately winning the NBA Finals. I predicted that before the season started. I think they're the best team in basketball, and I don't think it's that close. I got Boston winning this series in 6, just because I give Miami all the credit in the world to be able to battle with them. But ultimately, I think Boston wins the series.
I'm going to go Boston as well. I do agree with Gene. I think they're the best team in the NBA. I'm going to go Boston in 5. I don't think this is quite as good or as healthy Miami Heat team that battled with them last year, and I think Boston's even better. I think I will give, to Gene's point, I will give Miami credit. I think they maybe win Game 3 at home, and I think Boston rebounds Game 4 and then wins Game 5.
Look, I get it. Boston's been great all year long. I got Boston winning the series. I think it's going 7. Joe Mazzulla has shown you time and time again that when these moments get big and adjustments have to be made, he's not the guy to do that. And we saw it last year, and I get it. This Celtics team is different than what they were last year. I know they didn't have Kristaps, things like that, but I can't discredit this Heat team because year in and year out, like I said with the Clippers, you know what's happening with them. Kawhi Leonard's going to look great the first couple of games. He's going to get hurt. He's not going to play. With this Miami Heat team, they're going to be in the play-in. The questions are going to be, can they actually turn it around this year? They're going to win their play-in game. They're going to go to that first round, and they're going to look like a completely different team than the team that we saw for 82 games throughout the regular season. So I think the Celtics still win just because they're more talented, but I think the Heat give them all the problems in the world. And I almost think that this is like a mental battle because Tatum, Brown, like these are guys that have seen this Miami Heat team in the playoffs for years at this point, and that's their kryptonite. You talk about the Celtics being the Sixers' kryptonite. Well, the Miami Heat are the Boston Celtics' kryptonite. So I think they make it close. It stays competitive, but I ultimately got the Celtics in 7.
Let's talk about the 2-7. Hopefully it's the Philadelphia 76ers. If they get out of tonight's game versus the Miami Heat, They're going to take on the New York Knicks. I like the 76ers in this series. I think Jalen Brunson's incredible, but I think the one kryptonite for Jalen Brunson this year has been Tyrese Maxey. He's had an absolute great season against the New York Knicks. His games have been huge versus them, and he makes Jalen Brunson work on both sides of the court. And I think that the 76ers match up very well versus New York as a whole. And I think that Philadelphia, listen, outside of game one, which I think New York will win in the Garden, I think that fan group will be livid and up and ready to go. I think Philadelphia wins this series in 6. I think they take 2, 3, 4, and 6. I think they lose games 1 and 5. I like Philadelphia in this series in 6 games.
Too much me agreeing with Gene tonight, but I agree as well. I think it's in 6, and I think it's the same exact way. Gene mentioned, about the last series, benches get shorter. Jalen Brunson's going to play a lot harder on both sides. I think Maxey has a very good series, and they still have nobody to handle JoJo. So I like, as long as JoJo can stay upright and stay healthy, I think the Sixers are a better overall team. I think they're deeper. I like their bench better. I think they have more ways to score, and I think they're better defensively. And I'll take Nick Nurse in that matchup as well. So give me the Sixers in 6.
Oddly enough, I think the Knicks are in a better position now that Julius Randle won't be coming back for the rest of the year. I just feel like he's not a good fit for what they do. They got a lot of just the lineup itself meshes better without Julius Randle in it. I like the Knicks in 7. I think it goes all 7. I'm actually praying that the Sixers win this series. They are my rooting interest. I know we haven't gotten there yet. That'll be the next series that we go over, but I want to see Doc Rivers versus his old team in the Sixers. So my rooting interest is with the Sixers. And of course, I want you guys to be happy, but I want the Knicks. I got the Knicks at least to win this series in 7. I just think with Brunson playing the way that he is and the Knicks' ability to switch pretty much everywhere outside of that 4 spot, I think is just going to be a little too much for that Sixers team.
Hey, listen, I think JoJo goes nuts on Hartenstein.
Agreed.
I just don't think that they have enough to really slow down the paint. And I think the 76ers, one guy we don't really talk about enough on the 76ers that's been great defensively and has been a real good role player for them is Kelly Oubre. And I think Kelly Oubre is the difference in that series. I think he does a very good job of slowing down the wing players of New York. And, the Josh Harts, the DiVincenzo's, the OG Anunoby is going to be lined up with Tobias Harris. Let's just hope he doesn't screw anything up anymore. He's been tragic this year. But, that's where I'm at.
I think that's the one part that I think favors the Knicks, though. Well, I think matchup-wise, both sides are very even, but it's your team. Them Nova boys, like they're gonna, what you're getting every single night. They're squeezing every ounce of juice that they got, and I just don't think. Well, you have to rely on it being more than just Joel Embiid and Max. I think Maxey will be fine. Like no doubts there. He beats Brunson, offensively in his matchups there. I'm just concerned with the others. You stick OG on Tobias and you get Tobias going 6-point games and things like that, then you run into a lot of trouble.
Hey, listen, I'm with you. But by the way, you said you want to get Doc Rivers versus the 76ers in the second round. I got news for you, man. Let's talk about the 3-6. I got Indiana in that series, and I don't think Giannis plays. They're already preparing for life without Giannis. I think they go down 0-2 at home. I think it's too much. Indiana has been Milwaukee's kryptonite all year. You know what the kryptonite for a non-athletic team is? A team that runs like Indiana. I think Indiana wins the series, and I think they win it rather quick. I got them 5 over Milwaukee. I think Dame steals the game. I really do. But I think when it's all said and done, Indiana's going to run them out the gym.
That is the series that I am most curious to kind of see how it develops. The honest thing, I think everybody's just kind of, playing it, close to the vest. I agree with you. I don't think he's playing in the first round. And if he does, he's not going to be anywhere near 100%. I'll say Indiana in 6. I think Dame can do enough to keep them in games and maybe steal one here or there. I do agree with you, though. I think the up and down pace of constantly, like you said, running, and that's what Indiana wants to do. And I think they're going to be able to do it. I think the constant wear and tear of that over 6 games, I think, is too much for Milwaukee, and the kind of that veteran laden kind of roster they have. I like Indiana with a small upset.
I got the Bucks in this one, and I got the Bucks in 5. Look, I understand the Pacers have been the kryptonite to the Bucks all season, and that is 100% a fact. Every single time they play them, they've given them all the problems in the world. But the reality is, Tyrese Halliburton hasn't looked like himself in 2 months. He's clearly hurt. He's playing bad basketball, and I think the only reason why you've seen him play as much as he has is because of this rule that the league implemented to make sure that guys play 65 games so that they can get their all NBA achievements. And, ultimately that gets them their supermax contract. I don't think Tyrese Halliburton is anywhere close to being healthy. I don't think Halliburton's going to, I'll go out and say it now. I told you guys in the group chat, I don't think Halliburton's playing in the Olympics. I think he's going to take his time, recover from his injuries. And I think, you'll see him play in this series, no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, if that means Halliburton is, a shell of himself and you got Giannis not playing, I still think that Bucks team, even outside of Dame, they've been in these playoffs before. I know they lost last year in the first round, but they've been here before. They have guys that can step up and score the ball as well. Bobby Portis has been a good piece for them. That's getting them a lot of points off the bench. Brook Lopez plays really good defense. They got Middleton, and he's played decent this year. So I think Milwaukee will have enough in this series to get it done in 5.
I think you're missing the fact that, and just my opinion, I think you're missing the fact that Pascal Siakam's been a huge impact player. And I think without Giannis on the court, I think Siakam dominates the series. And I don't think they have anybody that can even slow him down on Milwaukee.
We'll see. I guess that's the part where we kind of disagree on the outlook of it. I think they have the bodies that they can throw at him. If you throw out, you throw Bobby at him, then you go change of pace and you throw Brook on him. Like, obviously Pascal can stretch the floor and, can shoot things like that. But I think throwing those bodies at him can make him uncomfortable and get him off rhythm. Just because Bobby's going to follow him out there to the perimeter and be up on him. And then if he wants to try and bang down low, they have the change of pace, throw Brook on him, and just make life hard on him.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the 4-5. Let's talk about your Cleveland Cavaliers.
Snooze fest of the playoffs.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. They could not have got a better draw. And I think Orlando is not ready for this playoff series, and I think Donovan Mitchell is. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers take care of business versus Orlando, and I think they win in the first round. I don't think this series is rather close. I think some of the games are close, but I think Cleveland wraps this up in 5. I don't think it's a series. I love the Cavs in the spot. I think they match up perfectly versus that Orlando team. I'm all over the Cavs in this series.
I'm taking the Cavs as well. I'm going to take them in 6. I agree. I don't think they're ever in any danger of losing the series. I think maybe Orlando pulls out a game, a game or two that they shouldn't. But I think Cleveland is relatively comfortable here. I agree with you, in terms of that team is still very young. This is going to kind of really be their first glimpse of the bright lights. And Cleveland's been here before and has guys that have been through it a couple times. So I like Cleveland to advance. I think it's a great draw. I think them falling down to the 4 seed, other than the fact they're going to get Boston in the second round. But, I just don't think Orlando's ready. I still think they're a year or 2 away.
I completely disagree with both of you guys. Cleveland has played awful basketball the past 3 weeks. They've looked like a shell of themselves. Donovan Mitchell, I talked about Hallie last matchup. Donovan Mitchell's not healthy. He's going to play not healthy at all. I hate how the Cavs ended the season. They had a chance to finish as the 3rd seed if they had just beat Charlotte, and they pulled everybody in the 4th quarter while they were up 12 and didn't bring anybody else in the game. It was like they basically tanked to get the 4 seed and get the matchup against Orlando. I hate that. It's an awful mentality to have. And with all that said, I am picking them. I'll pick them in 7. I think this series is a dog fight. I think Paolo and Franz are going to give them every single thing that they can handle. And, just a little foresight. I don't care who they play in the second round. They are getting slaughtered. Presumably it's going to be Boston, but I'm saying if the Sixers are the 8 seed, if the Heat are the 8 seed, and either one of them somehow find a way to beat Boston, I got whoever next round in 4 or 5. I don't think this Cavs team is playing good basketball, and I'd say hold off on it. I do think it's a great matchup, but hold off on it not being
anybody they could play. I think this is the team.
Oh, without a doubt. But even still, I wouldn't trust them against. I wouldn't trust them in a 7-game series against the Pistons right now.
Okay. All right. Well, just to get on record before the playoffs start, which I kind of started tonight already, but let's get on record. I want your finals prediction. Who over who? Let's get it one more time before we move on.
I'm Boston, Denver.
Who do you have winning?
I think I picked Boston.
Well, I'm asking for a new prediction now. You have Boston over Denver
now? I don't want to change it.
Okay.
I am going.
I believe I took Boston. I believe I took Boston at 7 in the beginning of the year. I believe that's what I took. I'm looking though.
I'm gonna roll with who's playing good basketball now. Boston is. I mean, I haven't been high on Boston. I think they're definitely getting out of the East though, with how things are shaking out. On the West, I mean, shit. Throw a dart at the board. I think the West is wide open this year. I'll go with Phoenix. Boston over Phoenix in the finals.
I will take Boston over the Nuggets. I was Boston over Golden State before the season started. That train's already left the carousel, so I'll go Boston over Denver. I think the West is wide open, though. I completely agree with you. I think it's the wild, wild West this year. I'm not kidding with you. It wouldn't shock me if any team won any series.
No,
I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers beat the Nuggets in round 1. I wouldn't.
Absolutely, and that's really like where I'm at right now, because I think if the Nuggets get in a dogfight with the Lakers, and next round they see either a Timberwolves team that finishes off the Suns rather early, or a Suns team that finishes off the Timberwolves early, I can see them losing that series against them. Like, I think the West is wide open.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. I'm kidding. Just having fun.
Yes.
But let's talk about.
Have you guys, before we switch off NBA real quick, have you guys been checking the score at all for the playing game?
Sixers are down 5.
Yeah, but it's early second quarter. I was just making sure.
Yeah, and it's been 6. I think they're down 28-22.
Yeah, means nothing right now. It's still super early, but
fair. Not worried about it yet. We'll get worried about it in the second half. But I definitely don't want to be within 5 points within a minute, because I know the 76ers and I know the Miami Heat. I want to win this game in the first 47 minutes of the game. But let's wrap up NBA. Let's move on to our bracket. We're on the bracket next, right?
Absolutely.
Sports characters, baby.
Absolutely. The question is, what region do we want to go to?
Doesn't matter. We're doing them all. You pick wherever you want to start, my friend.
All right.
Doing them all.
So, with that said, let's do this.
Okay. Start with the East. This is an easy start. We don't have to start hard. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits. I got Rocky Balboa. Easy. Not even close.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go next here. It's very easy. Rocky's taking the cake. He's moving on. It's Maximus, you had a good run. I didn't vote for you to get here, but Rocky's knocking you out in the first round, buddy. Sorry.
Not going to say that. I'll root for Rocky, but this is a little bit closer than both you guys were leading on. If you're going by characters and what they do. I know. I mean, his character actually killed people and stuff. You're talking about a boxer that pulls out.
Do you have a statue of Maximus somewhere?
The craziest freaking comebacks in the history of boxing.
Whoa! Is this Rocky slander, Bill?
That's fine.
What is going on here?
Slander and Maximus. It's not slander and Maximus. He got here. He did a great job. He went home after the first 2 games. He smelled himself around his own fans, had to travel back. Rocky Balboa handles business. Bill, we'll let you go first on the next one. This way you can not slander.
Not slander anybody. I mean, the man had his wife and his son killed, and you're saying he's getting knocked out in the first round. I'm just saying that's not happening.
I don't think he's getting knocked out in the first round because Rocky never starts well, but I do think he loses rather convincingly. But we'll allow you to go first here, Bill. Start us off.
This one's tough, actually. I always get stuck with Roy Hobbs because it's different than what it is in the book. I'm going to go with Crash Davis in the mini upset here. I think his overall character is better. He finally comes to terms with he's just going to be stuck in the minors, and he still tries to help Nuke get there, and everything. Just he embraces the lifestyle and finally just kind of rides off into the sunset. I think Roy Hobbs has the great moment at the end, but there's kind of some not the most upstanding things in the world during the course of the movie, actually. So I'm going to go with Crash with the minor upset.
Troll, you're up.
Is it? I just want second to the last one.
I'll go. I'll take Roy Hobbs in this one. I'll take the natural over Crash, and I'm going Roy Hobbs here. I don't think it's as close as Shally thinks it is. Shally thinks Crash wins. I think Roy Hobbs is the better overall character.
I tend to agree with Gene on this one. I am also rolling with Roy Hobbs. I do think it's close though. I like Crash. I mean, I'd argue I'd like Bull more than I like the natural, but I'm rolling with Roy Hobbs here.
By the way, I don't take this the wrong way. I think this is the layup city. Like UConn's in this bracket, and UConn's going to run through either one. Just saying how it is. Like we don't have to get into it now, but I mean, I know where I'm going next round. The one is beating the two badly.
All right, so let's go back to
what? Okay.
Midwest.
The Midwest thing. Control, you get to start this one, brother.
All right. Well, I mean, hey, let's not make any bones about it. You guys know where I'm going. I voted against Dottie last round. I'm rolling with Ricky. Ricky is the face of the Midwest. I'm rolling with the Wild Thing to get it done.
Shal, you're up.
I'm going Dottie.
Jesus. Why are you doing this to me so early? I don't want to do this.
I'm going Dottie.
I'll tell you right now, when we did this 2 weeks ago, I was picking Dottie. I don't know if I'm doing it now. I think there's too many major league characters in this thing. I really believe that.
A lot of them are already back at home, though.
I get it. I understand. Dottie Henson's a great character. I think she's one. I'm still going Dottie. I'm going Dottie. I got to send Rick Wild Thing Vaughn home, and I didn't want to. I have his jersey in my closet, and I was going to wear it next week. But I can't. No. I got Dottie. Dottie's the better character. She's the leader of that team. Now, look at you, just scrolling through, not even letting me get my final. It's a close 7-game series. I got Dottie, though. Dottie's the better character.
You sent my guy home, Gene.
You could be mad. You could be upset.
I'm sad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Well, I mean, I don't know where I get to start this one. And you guys probably already know where I'm going here. I don't give this any. I'm going Roy Kinsella over Jimmy Dugan. I told you guys before, I think Dottie Henson is the best character in that film. I think Jimmy Dugan's a good character. I think Roy Kinsella is the better character of the two. So I'm going Roy Kinsella from Field of Dreams. Obviously, you know how, feel good, nice story. I'm going Roy Kinsella here.
My second or third here.
Well, it depends. If someone's going with Jimmy Dugan, get it out now and make somebody feel uncomfortable.
I'll go second. Then I'm going with Jimmy Dugan because I was going Jimmy the entire way. I don't agree with this same. Look, Dottie's great. Don't get it twisted there. But I'm not gonna let that take away from the great character that Jimmy Dugan is. So I'm rolling with Jimmy here over Roy.
Going to agree with Cottrell in the sense that I still think Jimmy is slightly the better character in that movie. Dottie's great. I love Dottie. I love both of them. I think they're both underrated. I just voted for Dottie to send the one home. Jimmy's not beating Ray Kinsella, though. He's the straw that stirs that entire movie. And it's all about getting one last moment with your dad. So that is easy for me.
Yeah, I don't think it's that easy, but I like Ray Kinsella.
I love Jimmy Dugan. It just I can't vote for Ray Kinsella.
No, you did it wrong, Cottrell. It's Ray Kinsella one.
I swore.
There we go.
Cottrell's like, I'm in charge of this. My picks will go forward.
Guys, we should do the Final Four tonight.
Nah, I think we should.
I thought we do the vote for it.
No, we're in the Elite Eight right now, so we should do the Elite, like the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight tonight.
Well, do the Final Four next week, and just let everybody know beforehand that once it gets down to the end, then they got to vote.
Only reason why I will agree with Bill on that one is because next week we got our draft show. So,
no, I think we need to do both tonight. That's why I'm saying that. To get to the Final Four.
I would love to have the Final Four with the draft show next week because it's not going to take super long.
So wait, do the Elite Eight next week?
How many are we down to? Were we down to?
We have 2 left in each bracket, which would mean the Elite Eight.
So we'd have 4 matchups next week total, or we'd have
which would bring them to the Final Four,
or we'd have 2 matchups next week. It's either one.
I'd rather do the Elite Eight next week.
Okay, that's fair. Who's first on this one?
I think it's me. And this is pretty easy here. Name the movie's Happy Gilmore, but better character is Shooter. So I gotta roll with Shooter here. No, you talked about it being UConn. No, this is the UConn. This is the dominant force in the tournament. I'm going with Shooter here, and it's rather easy for me.
I agree. If there's a UConn in this bracket, it's Shooter McGavin. I think it's Shooter. I think he's going to give anybody that makes it to the end everything they want and then some. So I got Shooter McGavin.
Listen, I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast. I'm going Shooter McGavin here. I think it's rather easy over Happy. Nothing against Happy. Love Happy. The movie's named after him. Let's call it like it is, though.
Oh, forgot this was the matchup.
Oh, I remember this. And am I first on this one? Or is this Bill?
I think it's me.
Yeah, it's Bill, me, Cottrell. That's what it is.
I'm sticking with my guns here. That's what I'm doing. I'm going with Benny. I think they're both great characters. I think they're great characters in different ways. I think the way they build the movie around Benny is a little bit different. I'm just going with Benny.
I don't think they build a movie around Benny at all, if I'm being honest with you. I think they build the movie around the kid that loses the baseball.
No.
I'm going Billy Hoyle here. I think Billy Hoyle is one of the funniest, best characters in any sports movie. I think he's criminally underseated. I think Billy Hoyle is an absolute stud. Hilarious. I keep going back to the scene where they win the money, they win the 2-on-2 tournament, and he's just got to prove. He's got to prove that he can dunk. And he bets his half and loses his half of the money trying to prove he can dunk. And I love that. Is this regulation size? And Wesley Snipes shows him it's regulation size. And Billy Hoyle still just can't bring it down. I'm going Billy Hoyle here in the slight upset. I love Benny the Jet Rodriguez. But I have a Benny the Jet Rodriguez jersey. But it looks like my jerseys might be going home tonight. I got Billy Hoyle.
Yeah, and this is a trend, I guess. But I'm rolling with the upset, if you want to call it that, here as well. I got Billy Hoyle moving on. I think Billy is very underrated as a 7. Said he was a live 7 when the bracket released. And as much as I love Benny, because I do, I think he's a great character in Sandlot. But Billy Hoyle's one of those where I really feel like he should have been seated a lot higher. I know it's all subjective, but Billy's my guy. I got to go with Billy moving on.
So we got Benny the Jet 3 going home. So we should have one more matchup.
We do indeed.
Oh, one more bracket. Okay, well, I'm going first. Guys, the Mud Dogs are going to win the Bourbon Bowl. They're going to win the Bourbon Bowl, and Bobby Boucher should be winning this matchup rather easily. You get the 1 seed here in the South, Bobby Boucher, absolute stud linebacker and a water boy extraordinaire, versus a guy that hit a steroid test, a guy that let his daughter become a whore. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're really being honest about ourselves, Bobby Boucher is the better character here. And he listens to his mama, unlike Eric Taylor's daughter. Doesn't listen to her mama, not at all. Listen, you don't hide steroid tests. You don't start the player that you're loyal to instead of the better player when stuck with Saracen way too long. Then you get thrown out because you report a little shove, a little smack. Yeah, the kid's a little brat. I get it. But you're not reporting that to DHS. I would beat your ass too, and I'd have a problem with you also. You're not reporting that to Child Services. It was a little push. My dad did way worse than that. I'm going Bobby Boucher because Bobby Boucher listens to his mama.
Well, Gene, I think this is your fault here, because your words just came out of your mouth in the last matchup. You said, I got Benny the Jets jersey too. Well, look, you're wearing Bobby Boucher's jersey.
Damn right. So I already knew what's going to happen. You guys are rigging this tournament.
You're rigging the tournament. Rest of them. No one's rigging the tournament here. I know you get a little angry. But
I'm not angry. I'm good. I'm wearing my Bobby Boucher jersey, and the Mud Dogs should be winning the Bourbon Bowl.
And Bobby can be right there with Benny and whoever else jersey you said that you had.
I got Rick Walton Vaughn. Walton Vaughn.
They can all have like a party on the swing set. But I got Eric Taylor because at the end of the day, clear eyes, full heart, can't lose.
See, but he lost a lot. He lost a ton. No, the guy's a loser, if we're being honest with you.
He won championships at every level.
Okay. Well, I mean, I watched him go to college and quit after 3 months of trying to be a quarterbacks coach at TMU. Like he was a loser.
To go be back with his family?
Yeah, be back with his family that he ran away from, let his daughter become a whore, left his wife with a
what is this? God almighty, like Julie Taylor has like sex with one person on the show and she's a whore.
But 5 guys on the show. The Swede, she's trying to sleep with Riggins. Like we know what Julie Taylor is.
She's a high school girl flirting with high school guys. Like that's what happens, Gene.
I'm not on my watch. Not on my watch. Should have been more like Lila Garrity.
And you see how she turned out.
Yeah, she did. It's about whores. I mean,
you seeded this, Bill. So apparently you're disagreeing with your own seeds.
I'm not. Listen, I seeded it. Upsets happen. It's been a night of upsets. And I mean, I don't know how much gripe we're giving Julie Taylor here, and Bobby Boucher's banging trailer park people. So
whoa, that's a loyal woman right there.
Yeah, I guess drives around.
She threw a knife out, and she went to jail for Bobby.
Yeah, well, there you go. Criminal. So
speaking of criminals, how many steroid tests did Bobby hide?
We don't know what Bobby was on. They weren't testing. They weren't pee testing. I mean, listen, some of the stuff Bobby did. I mean, come on, like drop kicking people. That's not legal. It's not legal.
Hey,
Put it
listen,
in fantasy
it
land.
was on the field. You left it on the field.
Fantasy land football. I'm is what it is. I'm going with Eric Taylor.
Continue rigging the contest. Guys rigged it before, and you're trying to rig it again.
When.
You keep saying that, and he didn't win last time.
I know, because the listeners all at home were like, Denzel is way better. This is really easy.
Well, that was the show versus the movie. Different story.
Eric Taylor is he's a little bit above mid. I'm 4.5 seasons in. I know what I know what he is. He's a little bit above mid. Shade above mid.
Your biased hatred just shows constantly.
I'm last on this one, so have fun. Ricky Bobby versus Steamin' Willie Beeman.
Am I first? I don't know who's going here.
You're first.
I'm going Willie Beeman.
I'm also going Willie Beeman. This one's rather easy for me. As much as I love Ricky, it's easy.
Rather easy? You think it's rather easy? Fine, I'm going Willie Beeman because you guys both like Willie Beeman. Maybe you guys will pick him over Eric Taylor next round. That's the only reason I'm going Willie Beeman. Don't care. Because you guys are going to pick Eric Taylor over Willie Beeman, and it doesn't matter. You're going to keep rigging the damn contest. The fight is fixed. You guys bet on baseball. I don't want to hear it.
I voted against Ricky Bobby both rounds, so that's why it's easy for me.
Steamin' Willie Beeman. Let's go. Jamie Foxx.
When you go play basketball at the rec, when you lose, do you take your ball and go home? Or do you let the other kids keep playing?
Nope, I keep playing.
Nope. Gene's done. I'm going home.
Nope. I didn't run away last night.
I don't even know what that means.
Bill does.
I didn't run away. I went home.
I'm just kidding. It's a joke, Bill. Relax. I'm really sick of this bracket. I'm done with it. I'm finished with it. Screw you guys. I wore my jersey.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Okay.
Yep. All right, Cartman. Can I call me Cartman?
All right, Cartman.
Dang, you called Gene Cartman. That's wild.
That's messed up.
Hey, he said I told you he took his ball and went home. So he said screw you guys too. I mean, I'm just putting 2 and 2 together.
Look, 76ers need to get a rebound. That's all I gotta say. But let's move on to UFC 300 recap. And it lived up to the billing. I mean, it was a great card. And I got to give all credit where credit is due. Whether I was right or wrong on fights, I was right on a few. I was wrong on a few. But I will say this. Best fight of the card, Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje.
Yep.
That kick at the end of the first round completely changed the fight. When he broke Gaethje's nose with that last shot at the end of the first round, that was it. And I'll be honest with you. One of my favorite parts of that fight, Gaethje didn't run away, knew he needed a knockout. Max Holloway pointed at the middle of the ring, said, let's go. Max Holloway could have just got away from it, not thrown any more punches, and won the fight 4 rounds to 1. That's not what the BMF belt's all about. BMF belt standing in the middle of the ring, and that knockout was brutal. I loved it. Nothing against Justin Gaethje. Love Justin Gaethje. Big fan of the way he fights. But Max blessed Holloway was the man in that fight.
Listen, it's what you want to see. It's what you want to see out of your big stars. You want to see him come in. You want to see him fight. Not dance around for 2.5 rounds and, quick bursts here and there. Those guys fought for 25 minutes. And like you said, when you're fighting for that belt, it should be somebody should have to be carried out of the damn place. And that's exactly what happened. They went there and they banged, and I'll give Gaethje credit, man. I mean, that kid left everything he had in that octagon. Max landed that right, and that was it. All credit to Max Holloway. I mean, he looks like he's, I think he's got to start being in the title contention now, depending on where he wants to go, weight class wise. But that was. I'm trying to think, like, even recently, like that was just some gangster exciting stuff. Like you said, like, just point and we're just going to throw haymakers to see who connects first. Like that's what it should be. And to see two big guys with definitely with stuff to lose if you end up face first on the mat, to do that in that situation. Like I said, I give credit, all the credit in the world to both guys. Tip my cap to Max for winning. Love Gaethje going out on the sword like that, fighting 4 rounds with a broken nose. That is not easy to do. I promise you. Just a great overall showing from both guys.
Agree 110%. And I mean, Max Holloway is the epitome of what that title means. Like the BMF belt, like that's what you want guys to look like in that fight. And I give a lot of credit to Max for being able to go up to 155 and not just face, some good fighter. He went up and fought the best of the best in Justin Gaethje at 155, and he was able to stand and bang right there with him. And I knew, I said it last week on last week's show when we were giving our previews of it. I thought this would be more of a brawl, and I thought that fit right into what Max wanted to do. And like you guys already alluded to, with Max being up 3-1 on my scorecard, knowing that he won the fight, he didn't have to go to the middle of the octagon and say, hey, right here, right now, like, let's do this. But he did. And he was willing to go out there and lose just so he could put on a show in front of the fans and, ultimately earn his bonus there. You talk about Max should be in title contention, 1,000%. If he's not fighting Ilya next for the 145 belt, then Dana's doing everybody in the company a disservice, and I don't know what we're doing. And for Justin Gaethje, I don't really know where he goes next from here, because you have maybe a fight against Charles. Like maybe that's what you want to see, because you have Arman is going to be next up for the title shot after you get Islam and Dustin. And then, after that, you got all types of stuff going on in that division. So I hopefully Justin can rebound. And if not, maybe you see him move up or do something a little bit different.
Can we talk about that Sarukian fight, Sarukian Oliveira?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna lie to you, I was a little bit weirded out that was a split decision. I thought that was the clearest 2-1 I've ever seen. I think Charles won the first round, and I think Sarukian won second and third pretty clearly. I don't think it was really that close. I don't know how anyone could. What round would you have given Charles to set?
Well, it for sure was the third round that was in question. And while I agree, I did give Sarukian the third as well. You have to think about how optics looks when things end. So Charles was on the ground in a dominant position for a minute and a half, and he had a submission locked in for the last 20 seconds of the fight. It just wasn't enough to get Sarukian to tap. So I can understand how things look, but at the end of the day, you have to judge it for the entire round. And I think ultimately that's why one judge made it a split decision. But I had Sarukian winning there, and I thought that was the right decision.
Yeah, it was the third round. I just checked it I didn't think it was that close, but that's fair. Mike Bell, at least Adelaide Bird, who's always on the wrong side of decisions, was on the right side.
I think you just have to have solace the fact that they did get it right. Definitely not the most egregious thing we've ever seen. To Contrell's point, if you are the aggressor, you're in a dominant position, you have control, and you do actually, you do have a sub attempt. Some people are going to value that a little bit differently than other people, but tough. It's a tough L for Charles, if you're being honest, because I think he kind of puts him kind of in, kind of no man's land like Gaethje. I don't know if he can string enough to get back up the mountain again to get another shot now, depending on what happens in the next couple months. But good fight. I mean, it was again, another thing. I think two guys both showed up and, both fought well. I just think things went a little bit against Charles. I think the crazy thing is, with as dominant as he is on the ground, for that guy to escape 3 or 4, submission attempts, I mean, you just have to tip your cap to him. That's on another level, because we've seen guys that are, equally as good as Charles, be made look stupid, and he gets one on him, and it's a wrap for the fight. Guy got out of 4 different ones. That's going to win you a fight against Charles. So tip your cap to him. And, again, I think it's I think we're on the kind of the downside of Charles now, unfortunately.
Before we get into
whoa. the downside of Charles is crazy.
The downside in him contending for a belt is what I'm saying, not him being as a good fighter or anything like that. You look at his last 4 fights now with the guys that have passed him or the guys that have beat him, depending on who has the belt, it's going to take him a while to get back into that title contention is what I'm saying.
I couldn't disagree more.
Okay.
All right, so before we get into the 2 title fights, I want to talk about a little bit of prelim card. It's just the prelim card could have been its own pay-per-view. Kayla Harrison is an absolute stud, and she's going to be the next dominant woman fighter. I think that needs to be talked about. She absolutely abused Holly Holm in that fight. Nothing against Holly. Love Holly. Kayla Harrison was incredible. And I don't know, like, did you see the Amanda comments afterwards? Like, are we really going to get Amanda come out of retirement? Like, does Kayla Harrison give Amanda, like, the motivation to get back in the ring? And if she does, I don't know if Amanda wants to come out of retirement for Kayla Harrison. Like, I don't know. Especially if you're not, dude, you can shake your head all you want. The girl's dominant.
She is, but and again, Holly Holm is no slouch, and I'm not discrediting her at all. But Kayla Harrison is a fighter that she gets spent getting down to 135, and her fighting Amanda, like, that's not what she wants. I saw her fight when she was in PFL, and I saw her lose to people who weren't even close to the caliber of fighter that Amanda Nunes is. And I get it. She looked dominant, and I think as it stands right now, she is the most dominant woman in the UFC. But if Amanda comes back, like, I think Amanda makes slight work of her and reminds everybody why she's the lioness.
I thought it would be at 145.
I agree. You're talking about a 44-year-old Holly Holm now too, as well. Again, still nice, solid fighter. Kayla Harrison fought Holly Holm like Ronda Rousey should have fought Holly Holm. Decided not to, and lost. Kayla came in, did her thing, didn't let Holly get into the fight, make it a striking fight, threw her around for a while, finished her. I agree with Cottrell, though. I think Amanda Nunes, good Amanda, Amanda with a game plan coming in and shape and motivated. Amanda Nunes is on a different level. I don't think she's, I think it ends up looking very similar to, Amanda Ronda. I do. I think Kayla will stick to the game plan better. But if Kayla can't get her on the ground, Amanda Nunes is gonna piece her up, and that's how that's gonna end. So, to Gene's point, though, I don't know. I don't know if Kayla moves the needle enough for Amanda to get off the couch and stop being a mom for a while and live that life that she's in right now. I don't think it does. I mean, obviously, if Dana picks up the phone and throws some crazy number at her, that could always change the story, because it does for a lot of fighters, and you can't blame her if it does. But I think the status quo, just to be called out, and I don't think Kayla's it right now. Not right now, anyway. I don't think Amanda drops what she's doing for all that to fight Kayla right now.
Okay. I don't know, man. I think that Kayla Harrison, I think a non-motivated Amanda Nunes just coming out of retirement to fight, I don't know. I think Kayla Harrison gives her business. I really do.
I'll say this. I think if Amanda comes out of retirement, it will not be for non-motivation. Like, if she comes out of retirement and says, I'm fighting again, I think that might be the most motivated she's ever been, because she could easily just kick her feet up and say, I'm not fighting Kayla. I'm the greatest ever. And we just have to accept that for being fact. But if she comes out and she fights her, she knows that, hey, I can't lose this. Essentially, her legacy's on the line there. I'm not saying that we still wouldn't look at her as one of the greatest, but if she loses to Kayla Harrison then would have claim to being the best ever.
And by the way, just to be clear, you know why this all started, right? You know why this started? Because they asked Kayla Harrison who she wanted to fight in the ring, and she said, I want to fight some of the greatest, and she didn't say Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Nunes posted a picture of all the people that she beat and put, I'm the GOAT. Like she was like upset that Kayla Harrison didn't call Amanda Nunes out. They asked Kayla Harrison about that in the interview afterwards, and her response was, I thought she was retired. That's why I didn't call her out. She wants to come out of retirement. I'll fight her. I'll fight Cyborg. I don't care. But she essentially said that I thought she was retired. Amanda Nunes took, like, I don't know, she got offended that she didn't get mentioned as someone to call out after she was retired.
They've had some kind of underlying beef amongst the years, because Kayla Harrison was supposed to have been come over to UFC. She re-signed a deal with PFL and stayed over there, and ultimately, they're just now getting her over. But Kayla Harrison's been one of the top female fighters for a while now, so they've had some underlying stuff before, and now it's even more so coming to light now that she's over and essentially taking the UFC by storm.
All right, well, I would like a fighter to retire off that UFC 300 pay-per-view, and that fighter is Calvin Kattar. He all but quit, and that was an embarrassing performance. Look, Aljamain Sterling backpacked him and embarrassed him, but when the announcers are calling you out for literally quitting in a fight, I hope Calvin Kattar retires. And I'm glad Aljamain Sterling won this fight, because I feel like it sets up a fight versus T-City. I think him and Ortega would be a great fight. I would love to watch that. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves, Calvin Kattar needs to be cut from the UFC roster. Like, he's just not for him. And you don't quit on a pay-per-view like UFC 300. It's just not what you do. It was an embarrassing performance.
Agreed. And I don't even think you need to give him a lot of credence there. But I want to talk about the fight that you want to see, and I love. Give me Aljo versus Brian Ortega in a maybe main event of fight night, or a co-main on a card. Like, yeah. I think that is absolutely phenomenal. I think it was good for Aljo to go in there with a middle of the road bantamweight, and not bantamweight, but middle of the road. What is that? He's at 45. So featherweight, I believe. But regardless, go in there, middle of the road 145er, and show off what he can do. The weight wasn't too much for him. The strength wasn't too different there. I think I could see a path for him to potentially try to go on a championship run and compete for a belt. Now, obviously, there's a few people that are ahead of him in that line, but you go face a guy like Brian Ortega, that can put you on the fast track pretty quick. So I love what I saw out of Aljo, and Gene, sign me up for him in T-City.
And I good, Bill.
No, I agree. I mean, I would pay to watch that fight. I think it's definitely a pay-per-view fight, co-main, something like that, or just second or third on the main card. That's a great fight. That's a fight that Aljo would, he's going to get pushed off the fight in that fight. And I don't say that disparagingly because of, what happened this weekend. I mean, the guy just laid there and let him backpack him. But that won't work against Brian Ortega. Like, that would be an exciting fight to watch for sure.
We still have 3 more fights to talk about. And I will tell you this. I learned a lot of things watching UFC 300. And one of them is to never tell Yuri Prochazka he's not a samurai. I'm never doing that, because that guy is a psychopath. I'm not kidding with you. We were watching that fight, and I said to myself, if there was 5 people in the world where I wouldn't want looking for me, John Jones would probably be one, right? I'm not saying that Yuri is the second toughest person in the world. I think he's just a psychopath. And he's one of those guys I just wouldn't want looking for me. That's a guy that I would be I'd be petrified. I would 100% cower, lock a door, get a baseball bat. Me with a baseball bat, no chance. This guy's an absolute psychopath. Stood in the middle of the ring. He got beat up for a round and a half. He got his leg kicked in. Didn't matter. He just stood there. You're not going to tell me I'm not a samurai. And then handled business. Yuri Prochazka, give him all the credit in the world, man. That was fun to watch.
Agreed, 110%. Look, Alexander was able to establish his dominance with those leg kicks. And Yuri didn't check a damn thing. And you know how Yuri fights. He fights with his hands down and just unable to really intelligently defend himself. But he went to that second round. He's like, I don't care how much my legs hurt. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to knock you out. And that is exactly what he did. I'm here for a Yuri revenge tour. And I know we just saw Yuri versus Alex, and there's more work that needs to be done there before he can get another title shot, because we literally just saw and it was a second round knockout. But Yuri is a bad man. And I love watching him fight every time he's in there, because you know what you're going to get every single time.
I agree with both of you. I mean, you know what you're going to get, and the problem is, it's just if you want to be a champion, you kind of you have to insert some kind of intelligence into your game plan, and that's the problem that comes with Yuri. He fights the way he fights, but you need him to string together 2 or 3 or 4 fights in a row to get back to that Alex thing, and then at any given time, the way he fights, he get caught, and then he takes an L, and then he goes backwards. And I just wish somebody could be like, hey, be uber aggressive, be your crazy self, but let's just take some kind of precautions here and there, just a little bit, so we can actually get this train, continue to move on the upward trajectory and get you back in the cage with Alex. That's the only thing I wish they would change. But he's a little bit of a Looney Tune. He's
a little bit. He's a Looney Tune, bro.
He was standing outside of T-Mobile just pacing by himself. Like no one's around him. He's just outside, just walking around, just pacing, like middle of the night.
Yeah. I mean, he's missing some screws. I mean, but listen, if you want to be a fighter for your profession, you're probably a little crazy anyway.
Zhang Weili. He's just sorry.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say he's just further down the crazy spectrum with like Sean Strickland, but again, you're probably a little goofy if you want to be a fighter anyway.
Zhang Weili and Yan Shaidan, I can't say her last name. It was the most boring fight of the whole night, and Zhang Weili dominated the fight. But the part that I have to talk about in this fight, and like I have to bring up, is I don't care what their corner says. She was knocked out cold. They gave her smelling salts, and I'm telling you, you can say whatever you want to say. I know what I watched, and Rogan's seen it, and Cormier's seen it, and they called it out in the middle of the pay-per-view. Like they literally gave her smelling salts. Like they literally stuck a finger up her nose, and she's like, "Woo!" And we're like, "No, we didn't give her smelling salts." She was knocked out at the end of that round. She was smoked. They carried her over to the corner. That should have been illegal. There's no way that should have happened. That was the funniest part of the whole night to me. That was hilarious. Zhang Weili dominated. She got popped once, and I got to give her all the credit in the world. She got knocked down, and it looked like it was like the second round. It looked like the Rose Namajunas where she got popped and she recovered super quickly, but she got laid out. I think it was the early second round where she just got smoked, but just absolutely dominated the fight. I mean, I think she outlanded her like 250 to 70. It was something like that. It was dominant on every scorecard. I hate that this was the co-main event of the evening. I felt like this was a bad co-main event. It was boring. It almost put me to sleep. Yeah, it was 256 to 73. I just looked it up. More than doubled her in significant strikes, doubled her takedowns. Zhang Weili dominated this fight.
I think the one thing about this fight, though, that I was kind of surprised about, yes, Weili definitely dominated in it, but Yan was having some success getting her to the ground early on. And you don't typically see that in Weili's fights. So I thought this fight was going to have some more interest, just how that first round went, and the first and second round went, and that just wasn't the case. Weili showed you that she has that, heart of a champion, and there's a reason why, especially now with Amanda not around, you could argue pound for pound, she's the best woman in the game right now. And so I just think with where she's at, she's so well-rounded, and I know she's getting up there in age at this point, but I feel like right now, this is the best we've ever seen her, like the last 3 fights. She's looked absolutely dominant in her last 3, and I feel like, especially with where the roster is in that weight class, she has a very dominant run left in her. Talking 3-4 more consecutive title defense wins.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I think the Rose loss is kind of the reset for her. And, we've talked about it, before with other champs, that sometimes they need that L to kind of get the hunger back and the motivation and kind of, take the train to that next level and push themselves. And I agree with Cottrell. Since she's come back, she's looked great. And with who is left in that division, I agree with Cottrell with that as well. I don't think you would say she wouldn't be a heavy favorite stepping the cage with anybody in the top 3 or 4 in that division right now. She has a chance to really create a legacy here that down the road puts her in that, in the probably on the outside looking in still, but it puts her in that Rushmore category for women. It does. She can really prolong her career and go on another run, keep the belt for another 2 or 3 years. Then you're talking about all kind of all-time records for defenses and stuff like that in the UFC. So, she looked dominant. I was saying, man, I mean, she beat the hell out of that girl for 25 minutes.
Yeah, completely agree. Let's talk about the main event of the evening, and it did not live up to the billing. It did for the knockout that it was, but Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. I watched this fight, and I normally think Alex is a slow starter, right? Like he gets his legs underneath him. He normally picks and chooses his spots. It felt different. He almost felt like he was the Terminator and he was walking Jamal Hill down. And when I was watching this fight, I remember the low blow, and Herb Dean came over to try to like kind of stop like the action because of the leg kick that landed below the belt. And Alex is like, nah, dude, I'm good. Puts his hands on him, kind of pushed him. I've never seen a fighter do that. Just, I'm good. Pushed his official away. And then 30 seconds later, not even 30 seconds, maybe 15 seconds later,
like 8, yeah.
just lands a straight left that just ends Jamal Hill's night. And it was vicious. And the celebration afterwards reminded me so much of Izzy. Yeah. Like, serve him up on a platter. Alex Pereira has gotten more vicious, stronger, and better in every fight we've seen him in the UFC. I mean, outside the Izzy comeback knockout over him, Alex you can tell he's late to the MMA game. And the more and more experience he gets, the more and more dominant he gets. He is going to be a force in that 205 division, a force that we have not seen in a long time in that 205 division. Since John Jones, since he basically moved up to heavyweight and had his hiatus, that division's been Jan Blachowicz and a bag of Doritos for the last 4 years. And now Alex Pereira is the dominant champion at 205, and he continues to move up the pound-to-pound ranks. Got to give him all the credit in the world. Love what Alex did.
I think you said, he looked like a Terminator, and I think that's a good, example of, I don't think there was literally zero doubt in his mind that he wasn't winning that fight. Like that guy walked in the cage confident, just knew he was a better fighter than Jamal Hill, and was just going to go in and finish him. And you get guys with elite talent like that, and like you said, he's late to MMA. Like he started as a Muay Thai and a kickboxer guy. That you could arguably, say that he's not even at his ceiling yet. He's going to continue to keep going through these training camps, and he's going to keep learning new things and keep getting better and more technically sound and more of a better, well-rounded fighter. So he's dangerous, man. He's dangerous, and he's one of those guys. If he touches you, that's probably it. And he's got great hands. But he walked into that cage Saturday night with literally zero apprehension, zero fear. He knew he was going to go and win that fight, and he fought that way. Like the low blow, he was just like, bro, I'm good. I want to end this fight and get the hell out of here. And then the dude gets starched 20 seconds later. So yeah, and that's baller stuff. And that is, to Gene's point, that is the beginnings of not so much a superstar, but those are the type of things you look back and after the guy becomes a legend, you go back and look at it and be like, this is really where you start to see it. He has all the tools. It's there. It's a matter of he can continue to evolve, continue to get better. Izzy, I don't know what you're going to see with Izzy. I don't know if he goes to 205, 185. I hope he just goes back to 185, but we're probably going to get that fight again at some point. But, I think the biggest, I don't want to say problem for him is they got to, there's guys got to keep stepping up to become kind of worthy challengers for him. And I don't know who's next, but he looked damn good, man. I don't know what else to say.
Mooney has a very good question he puts up here. Why doesn't Jones just drop down to 205 to fight Alex? I think he could improve greatly rather than fighting 473 washed up pride fighters like he's done. The division's been trashed for so long. I agree. But I don't know if John, at this point in his career, could drop down to 205. I don't think he can make that weight cut anymore. I really don't. I think he's still this whole body.
I agree with you 100%. And the problem is now John, during that hiatus, people don't realize John was powerlifting. Like John added a bunch of muscle. And he's a big dude. He was a big dude when he got down to 205 before. And I think people look at his build in the cage and like, oh, he's not that bulky. Yeah, but he's 6'4". Like, he's an enormous guy. Both his brothers are professional football players. Like, he's a big dude. I agree with you 100%. I don't know if John could get back to 205. I really don't. I think it would be a hellish cut, and I don't think he has any interest in doing that. I really think John thought he had 2 or 3 more fights left in him, get the heavyweight belt, and then he was really just going to walk away and be like, I'm the best to ever do this. I mean, in a dream world, I would love to see that fight. Yeah. I don't think there's any shot it happens.
Gentlemen,
who do you think he's going to fight Chuck Liddell next?
Not going to lie to you.
I'd fight Chuck Liddell right now.
Over here in the Midwest, apparently we got some bad weather, and Wi-Fi got knocked out. So I'm on my hotspot. So if I'm a little choppy, that's the
like
reason.
every other show.
Let's get into our quarterbacks list while you have everything loaded up through the hotspot. Let's get into our quarterbacks, and Bill, we'll start with you as usual.
All right, I'll go first as usual. 5 was tough for me on here. Not gonna lie. I went from Bo to Penix, back to Bo, and I was kind of sold on Penix. Went a couple other different directions. I went back with Bo. I will say this. I think the top 4 on my list, and I'm going to assume the top 4 on probably everybody else's list, I think have the ability to be quality to very good NFL starters, depending on what kind of ceiling you put on Caleb. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't think Penix is going to be either. I think they might have spot starts here and there, whatever, but I don't think I just don't think they project to be long-term starters in the NFL. That being said, Bo is a guy that over the course of his career, I know we make the jokes. He's been in college for like 6 years, whatever it's been, but his biggest problem when he was younger, when he was at Auburn, was his decision-making. Went to Dan Lanning in Oregon, worked on his decision-making, went to a more quarterback-friendly offense, obviously. Gets the ball out very quick, has good arm talent. He's accurate. He's going to have to change a lot to become a successful NFL quarterback. Like I said, he played in a very friendly kind of spread offense in Oregon. They didn't throw the ball down the field a ton. Threw a lot of stuff outside the numbers. Him throwing over the middle against zone is something he's going to have to improve on dramatically for him to be a consistent NFL starter. But that being said, again, he has the tools, he has the talent. I just think he's got to go to the right situation, and he's probably just going to be a backup. But we'll see. Drake May, UNC, good arm talent. I think he's an underrated athlete. I think he's a better runner, and he's a more of a better physical specimen than people give him credit for. Shows very, very, very good touch and vision downfield while throwing. I think with him and the next guy I'm going to talk about, it's all about how they develop. I think the top 2 guys, I don't want to say sure things, but I think they have less things to work on. But to finish up with Dre, like I said, I think he throws downfield. He's good at extending plays, keeping his eyes downfield. He's good at feeling pressure. Again, another guy, though, I think he's very good against man-to-man. He's really got to work against playing against the zone. When teams were able to sit back in zone and not give him his first read, it's when Drake Mace struggled last year. I think a lot to do with him is also going to be the situation he's going to. It's projected to go probably either to Washington or New England, depending on which mock you look at. I don't think either one of them are great situations. Number 3, I have J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. Another one. Very good arm talent. He's an elite athlete. Very fast, good runner. Great at throwing balls into tight windows when he has to. Good against man, good against zone. Biggest thing with him is it's kind of the unknown. We've seen it in spurts when he can do it. Can he do it more? We don't know. We don't know if it's yes. We don't know if it's no. The reason I have JJ number 3 over Drake May is I think JJ is going to go to a better situation. I think, by all intents and purposes, it looks like Minnesota is going to come up to get him. He's going to start as a rookie, and he's going to go out with the best wide receiver in football, Jordan Addison on the other side, good offensive line. I think JJ has a very high ceiling. I don't think it's Caleb-like, but I think JJ has a very high ceiling. He has all the intangibles, great leader, great kid. He's very smart. You look at his highlight reel on some of the throws he's made, they are next level. He's very good at layered concepts, which a lot of these guys are not. Something he's progressed at faster than others and not throwing the ball a lot. That's why a lot of people are kind of mixed up on him. Some have him high, some have him low. I have number 3. Jaden Daniels set the world on fire last year, won the Heisman. Again, another freak athlete, very good athlete, can run, can throw. Biggest thing with him is going to be learning to sit in the pocket in the NFL and continue to progress. Alex, you are absolutely high on drugs. Please go get tested. Jaden Daniels, I think his biggest comparable is obviously Lamar Jackson. He can throw the ball. I think at this point in his career, I think he throws the ball a little bit better than Lamar, but he has that kind of fight or flight a little bit more than Lamar, which I think in the NFL you have to calm down a little bit. They're going to have to teach him to stay in the pocket, go through his progression, throw against zone. Again, another kid, though, that has a high ceiling. Number 1, I'm sure he's going to be number 1 on everybody's list. If not, I'd be surprised, but be a great conversation. Caleb Williams, USC, elite arm talent. His biggest comparable, a lot of people say, is Patrick Mahomes. Kind of plays like him. Big play, extending plays, kind of getting plays out of nothing is his specialty. It also gets him in trouble. We've heard all the crap off the field. I think some of it's probably true. I think a lot of it is just the media just blowing hype and trying to disparage the kid, but it's something to pay attention to anyway. Got to go number 1 to Chicago. I don't think he's the sure thing Hall of Famer that some other people do, but I still think he's hands down the best quarterback in this class. So Caleb Williams, number 1 for me.
Okay.
All right. So
okay,
I got my list here, and notable addition, Drake May. Look, the reality of the situation, the kid's going to be that good. And I understand, the arm talent that he has and his ability to run, things like that. But I'm going to give it to you how I view it. And I don't see him as a top 5 QB prospect in this draft. And with that said, I'm going to start off with number 5. That's Spencer Rattler out of South Carolina. Look, I think Spencer Rattler is a kid that has all the talent in the world. And obviously, I know, he went through his tough spells in college, being ultimately replaced by Caleb Williams a couple seasons ago at Oklahoma. But you have to also remember that this is a kid who had all that talent, and there was a reason why he was starting over Caleb Williams at that time. And I think him going to South Carolina definitely humbled him. He could have came out last year after the season that they had towards the end of the year, getting those upset, things like that. But he decided to come back to school, get developed. And I think this is going to be a kid that you can get in the 4th, maybe even the 5th round, and be in a situation where he's your backup or even your 3rd string. You develop him for a couple years, and your first guy goes out. Spencer Rattler comes in, and he's ready to rock and roll, and you don't miss a beat, and you got him on a cheap deal. I love Spencer Rattler to be a diamond in the rough. Number 4, I got J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. I think J.J. is in a spot where he could even be potentially number 3 on my list. I think he has a strong arm. He's very accurate, and he does have the intangibles that you want out of a quarterback. He's a good athlete as well. I did the breakdown on him on Real Recognizes Real. I think he's a good athlete, and I just hope that he goes to a team with a good offensive line and a quarterback coach or offensive coordinator that's going to work with him. But ultimately, though, I think he will be a starting quarterback, and I think he could be a good starting quarterback in the NFL. My number 3 is Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. I think you could argue that this is the most accurate quarterback in the entire draft. I think he can fit every ball into a tight window. And just hearing that he went out and ran a 4.4 at his pro day, he's way faster than I would have ever imagined him to be. Showing that he's a good athlete. The one thing that scares me, though, is that injury history. You hope that doesn't come into play throughout his career in the NFL. I'm projecting that it won't. And so that's ultimately why I have him here at number 3. Number 2 for me is Jaden Daniels out of LSU. I think he is the second most ready-made prospect in this draft. Bill made the comparison to him to Lamar Jackson. I actually think he's a lot closer to Deshaun Watson, especially coming out of college at Clemson. I think he's very accurate with his deep ball and his ability to make plays with his legs. That translates to that next level, and that's what these teams are looking for in the NFL. But number one for me is Caleb Williams. I think he is a no doubt about it future superstar. I won't go as far as to say Hall of Fame quarterback, but I think he is a multiple Pro Bowl appearance, multiple All-Pro caliber player, and I think he's a franchise-changing quarterback. Don't buy into what you see with the people trying to shade him. Look at the film. The film tells you everything you need to know about Caleb Williams, and I know Patrick Mahomes is the lofty comparison, but if you look at the film, that's who he most looks like in the NFL, and that's Patrick Mahomes. So I got Caleb number one, and I'm pretty firm in the stance that this kid will be a superstar, and I don't have many doubts about him.
So I guess I'm going to get the hater Montreal on me, and that's fine. I'm fine with it. I've watched more JJ McCarthy than most people have outside of Bill. Obviously Cottrell too. He did a whole breakdown of him. I don't see it. And maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, and I'll totally admit that. I don't think the kid's next level. I don't. I think he went from having the number one, and he could potentially, like some people have him going as high as Washington. He could potentially go from the best offensive line in college football to the worst offensive line in the NFL. I think he stays on his first read too long. What'd you say?
I said I felt like you were going to say stinks. Go ahead, say it.
No, I think he stays on his first read. I don't think he'll be terrible. I think these 5 quarterbacks will be better. But I talk about the fact that I've left off my list. I think he sticks to his first read. I think he's not a very good throw on the run, not on a run, like hit a receiver in stride quarterback. I think he crowds his receivers often. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I just think that the difference between what JJ McCarthy's seen versus the talent he played against, I don't see it. So I could be wrong. But Bo Nix, I watched run a prolific West Coast offense. And I think Bo Nix can run an NFL offense better than JJ McCarthy can. I got Bo Nix number 5. That's why I have him there. I actually have McCarthy 7. I have him behind Spencer Rattler at 6. But I do. I just don't think he's that good. And you can laugh all you want. It's fine.
I will, because there's certain things you've already said. You're saying you watch more tape than you're not watching the right tape. That's all. But keep going. I'm not going to interrupt your list.
I'm sorry you didn't throw the ball one time in the second half versus Penn State. Like well, listen, if you're a top quarterback prospect and that's the best player on the field for your team,
that's fine. You're one of those people that's saying he did it, so he can't, and they're two different things. But again, keep going your list. I don't want to get an argument. Keep going.
That's fair. I have Bo Nix number 5 for me. Michael Penix Jr. I think will be one of the sleepers in this draft. And I think if he goes to the right situation, he has the ability to be a superstar on the next level. He's got a big arm. He can throw the deep ball well. And I think Michael Penix Jr. just needs the right situation to walk into. I have him at number 4. Number 3, I have Drake May. Now, I will say this. I think Drake May is an absolute bust second overall pick. I don't think he goes 2. I think Jaden goes 2. But Drake May going to New England without any wide receivers, going to Washington without an offensive line, I think it's a recipe for disaster. I think later on in his career, you'll see the Drake May that you wanted to see. I think he has the ability to be a very good quarterback in the NFL, but I don't know yet. Situation matters. My top 2 prospects are far and away better. I wish I could put a big line in between 1 and 2 and then the rest of the class. I think Jaden Daniels is the only quarterback that can go to Washington and succeed. You look at who their offense coordinator is. Who's their offense coordinator in Washington? It's Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury has a history of Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, mobile quarterbacks, and creating an offense around them. I think Jaden Daniels going to that situation with Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. I think Jaden Daniels could go into that situation and be able to have success at the next level. He throws a very good deep ball. He's mobile, which will really alleviate the fact that the offensive line is atrocious. I think Jaden Daniels will be elite at the next level. I think Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the class. I don't think it's very close. He can throw on the run. He can hit receivers in stride. He's accurate in the pocket, and he's mobile. I think Caleb Williams is I don't want to say generational, but I think he is an elite starting quarterback. I think he walks into the NFL as one of the 12 best quarterbacks in football. I have Caleb Williams number 1.
So we're giving Cliff Kingsbury his roses now?
No. I just think that Cliff Kingsbury is walking into a situation where he's going to get another mobile quarterback. And I think Jaden Daniels will be another, to me, I think Cliff Kingsbury is one of those guys that is a product of circumstance. And what I mean by that is, he got his job in the NFL due to Patrick Mahomes. He got an extension in the NFL due to Kyler Murray. And he's going to keep an offensive coordinator job due to Jaden Daniels. I think I don't think he's a good coach, but I think that that's who they'll draft it to because of who their offensive coordinator is.
Okay.
Let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me, folks.
There were absolutely so many to choose from. Could talk about the Cavs, but I've already done that, and them blowing and tanking their game against the Hornets the last game of the year.
Fair.
Could talk about the betting scandal. I don't know if one of you guys are going to go over that or not, but I could talk about that. But I feel like it's only fitting for me, being the college enthusiast that I am, to talk about the NCAA deciding to adopt the rule change to allow an unlimited amount of transfers and also allow immediate eligibility. Now, look, guys, I've always been the one saying that I'm pro player in pretty much every situation. I think the players are what make these sports, and they're the engine that keeps this thing rolling here. But allowing an unlimited amount of transfers, you're going to see more of what I talked about a few weeks ago when Caden Proctor decided, hey, maybe the grass isn't greener here at Iowa, and now he's going back to Alabama. You're going to see kids, ultimately commit to a school. They're going to get there early, and then by the spring period, they're going to transfer out. Like Luke McCaffrey, where he went from Nebraska to Rice, and things just didn't work out for him there. Look, at the end of the day, I'm all for kids going somewhere, not only where they're needed, but where they can find success and get a good education as well. But this rule being the way it is, it's going to allow the NCAA to ultimately turn into the Wild Wild West. All hell is about to break loose within the NCAA. I don't understand this. I like giving kids the option to transfer, more than once, especially if the second time is within their senior year or their grad year. But an unlimited amount of transfers the entire time throughout college is just going to be a nightmare. So the NCAA this week for deciding to adopt this new rule change.
You gotta be kidding me.
Love it. Love it.
NCAA will be out of college football in the next 5 to 10 years. Mark my words. These super conferences are just going to get together, do their own rules. Be like, we don't need you. TV deal's already done with ESPN and ABC and everybody else with all the bowl games. There's nothing to do with the NCAA. They're just going to get rid of them. They do nothing but ruin college football. But that being said, different discussion for different day. I'm going to hit the gambling one. Jonte Porter, Toronto Raptors, reserve center. Got a lifetime ban from NBA basketball today for providing inside information to bettors and also possibly influencing what was going on in games. I think the shocking part to me is the audacity that he had, that he didn't think for a guy who averages 3 points a game, 10 to 12 minutes, and the people he was giving information were going to make these outrageous bets on some backup center, and nobody was going to notice. Like, that was just going to fly under the radar is mind-boggling to me. There was a guy in Jersey who got picked up at $80,000, and he was going to score under 4 points to cash out at 1.1 million, and like nobody was going to flag that bet anywhere out of nowhere. Listen, I hate to say it, but this stuff's starting to become more and more prevalent, and this is why a lot of the leagues didn't want to deal with these sports books and online gambling and everything else. They're taking their money now, don't get me wrong, but it's getting to the point where there's more and more stories popping up, and you're going to start worrying about the integrity of all these sports more and more the further we go. But to be a backup center and have people betting 80 grand that you're going to play a certain amount of minutes or get a certain amount of rebounds or score under 4 points, and just think that nobody was going to notice, that the people whose job it is to look at these things all day long, and some sports book was just gladly going to be like, oh yeah, we'll just take a $1.1 million hit on this random lucky bet tonight. It's just crazy to me. It's just stupidity. You were never going to be a superstar, but you were going to make a nice living being a backup center in the NBA. You were still going to make decent money, and that's gone now. Just stupidity. I don't know what else to say. So this week for me, Jonte Porter.
You gotta be kidding me.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was really close between a few. I wanted to use Yan Jian on the smelling salt situation for UFC, but I've been back and forth, and Alex just put it on in the group, and I can't let this go any longer. Major League Baseball has to do something about Angel Hernandez. He is awful, and I'm not trying to be like rude when I say this. I honestly believe that I could walk off the street being a slow pitch softball umpire and do a better job in Major League Baseball than Angel Hernandez is doing as an umpire. He is terrible. And the fact that they can't fire him because of the umpires union is beyond me. Major League Baseball needs to figure this out. They have a lot of money, and there's a lot of games that are riding on it. This guy missed 14 calls. 14 calls the other night on balls and strikes. That is absurd to me. I don't understand how that's possible. He struck the kid out from Texas on 3 pitches that never touched the strike zone. The guy was throwing 5 pitches. None of them hit the strike zone, and he was struck out looking. I'd never seen anything like it. I don't know how he can still be a major league umpire. He called a pitcher on a balk last night that was clearly not a balk. Every other day, Angel Hernandez is in the news or on ESPN for another absurdly blown call, and I can't deal with it anymore. So for this reason, Major League Baseball and Angel Hernandez.
You gotta be kidding me.
So just to back that up, I saw the video today. They did the top 10 pitches that were called strikes that missed the zone by actually the most inches, and the top 3 were all Angel Hernandez. It's wild. He's terrible. The smartest thing that man ever did was sue the Major League Baseball, because and that's why he's still working there. They feel like he's unfireable now, and it's a damn shame because he's awful.
Absolutely dreadful. But that's what we got for you folks. Any final comments? By the way, I have one before Cottrell goes. I want to wish Cottrell Simpson and Audia Simpson happy anniversary. Just was yesterday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed. Yep.
Happy anniversary to the lovely couple. Is this your 3-year? 2-year anniversary. I feel like it's been 3 years since I've been to your wedding, but I guess not. But congratulations. I wish you guys many more. I can't wait to see you at your 20th. So happy anniversary.
Appreciate it.
Happy anniversary. Congrats on Audia deciding to deal with you for the rest of your life.
But I did have one as well. Guy who we worked pretty closely with, Alex, had a birthday yesterday. We shouted him out in our group chat. Obviously, he does up and in, coast to coast with us, and he even helped us out last week while Gene was away. But Alex, still haven't met you yet in person, but I feel like I've known you forever. I hope it was everything you wanted to be. Love working with you. Can't wait to tell you why Oregon won't win the Big Ten this year, later on this year. But happy birthday, my friend.
Happy birthday, Alex.
I'm going to give him the fly in for SummerSlam.
Shout out to all the people listening on Twitter. I know you guys can't comment in the chat, but we've had between 17 and 20 listeners on Twitter all night. So shout out to you guys. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support.
Got to shout out my little man Chunk, my little nephew. He's been watching all night with Katie, so he's been waving to everybody on the screen. So he's still awake. Say hi to my little buddy.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another fun episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That is Kent State's own, Cleveland's own College Cottrell. Uncle Scholastic Shally, and we are signing out.